Welcome back to the lytutien review channel. Today, we will explore a mysterious story happening on a peaceful farm. But what made the police suddenly appear in a seemingly ordinary place? Thinking face, is there a dark secret hidden behind the farm gate? Man detective, is someone trying to hide a horrifying truth? Don't take your eyes off the screen, because right after this are some unbelievable details. Right finger like, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next interesting stories. Jack stood silently in the old kitchen, his hands clenched, his eyes blazing with anger. The papers he had just read were still scattered on the table, the transfer statements, the fake contracts, and the fake letter from Tien's parents that Mrs. Twee had set up. Jack's whole body trembled, not because of fear, but because he felt like an idiot, a gullible person, giving all his trust and money to someone like her. He slammed his hand down on the table. "Why did you do that to me? I trusted you. I thought you really wanted to help Tien," Jack roared. But in the cold house, only the sound of the wind whistling through the cracks in the door answered him. She had disappeared since he discovered the truth, silently, as if she had prepared for this day. That made Jack even more certain this was not just a temporary scam, but a plot that had been calculated all along. Jack sat down, his mind spinning. He remembered the evasive looks, the times Mrs. Twee avoided him every time Tien asked about her biological parents. He also remembered how she accidentally told him about a lost family to lure him into investing in the search. Now, everything had come together to form a distorted picture, and Mrs. Twee was the main painter, with the pretense and scheming of someone who had lived too long in the dark. But what scared Jack the most was the feeling that she had not told the whole truth. In the old notebook that Jack picked up behind the altar, there was a crossed-out line: "Don't let her know about that year, otherwise everything will fall apart." What happened that year? Why was Mrs. Twee so scared that she erased all traces? Jack stood up, his eyes like steel. He knew, to protect Tien, he had to uncover all the secrets that Mrs. Twee had tried to hide, even when he had to face a truth that was more terrifying than anything he had ever imagined. Without another second of hesitation, Jack rushed out of the house, still clutching the old notebook with the crossed-out line in his hand. He ran to the commune police station, where the case was being preliminarily investigated, meeting Lieutenant Lamb, the person who directly received the case file. Jack put the notebook on the table. His eyes read, "I need your help. She has run away, and I'm sure Mrs. Twee is hiding something much worse than what we know." Lieutenant Lamb leaned over, flipping through the pages of the notebook. When he saw the words, "Don't let her know about that year," he frowned and said in a low voice, "That year's story, is it related to the fire at Tien orphanage?" Jack was startled. "You know about that too?" "We investigated, but the file was lost. Someone intentionally covered it up, and Mrs. Twee was once a name on the temporary management list." Without wasting any more time, they got in the car. The police lights flashed red and blue through the dense afternoon fog. Lieutenant Lamb drove while calling the technical department to trace Mrs. Thie's phone number. The last signal was recorded at a small gas station, 30 kilometers from the farm, close to the old forest. The car stopped. Jack rushed out first. In a moment, he saw a figure wearing a conical hat and an ash-gray coat, walking quickly into the path beside the gas station. "It's her!" Jack shouted. Then, without waiting, he rushed into the muddy dirt road. Lieutenant Lamb called for 2 more policemen to assist, and at the same time drew his gun to be on guard. In the forest, the sound of dry leaves being stepped on rustled. The smell of rotten grass mixed with the cold, damp air made the air stuffy. After a few minutes of chasing, they saw an abandoned shack, the flashlight shining on the broken window. Inside, Mrs. Twee was flipping through plastic bags, gathering some old papers and photos. She turned around when she saw the light, her face pale. "Stop! Police!" Lieutenant Lamb shouted. Jack looked straight into her eyes, no longer angry, only extremely disappointed. "Why do you still want to hide? What else do you want to hide from me? Or were you the one who caused the fire that year?" Mrs. Twee trembled, her mouth stammering. "No, it wasn't me. That person forced me to do it." I was just a pawn. A gust of wind blew by, blowing the pile of papers in her hand. A photo fell in front of Jack's feet. It was Tien's photo. But next to her was a man who had never been mentioned. Jack bent down and picked up the photo from the damp ground. The photo was faded, but still clear. A little girl of about 4 years old, Tien, was sitting on the lap of a man wearing glasses. His face serious but his eyes looking at her full of calculation. The strange thing was that on the man's arm, there was a red dragon tattoo, a detail Jack had seen briefly in the old file that Lieutenant Lamb had shared about a child identity trafficking boss. Nicknamed Mr. Bay Sack. Jack handed the photo to the policeman. Lieutenant Lamb immediately turned pale. Impossible. This person, he was once thought to have died in the fire at Tien camp more than 20 years ago. He was the owner of the camp. But there was no body. We always suspected that he had staged a fake crime scene. Mrs. Twee sat down on the ground. Her face ashen. Her voice trailed off. I thought he was really dead. He told me to take the child away. Change her name. Turn her into a rootless child, and then do a fake adoption procedure. In return, I would be named on the land that is now this farm. Jack stepped back, his heart pounding. Everything began to make sense. Mr. Bay Sack was the one who gave Tien to you. He was the mastermind behind the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law drama that you created. And now, he is still alive? Mrs. Twee nodded like a machine. He came to see me 3 months ago. Said that Tien was about to remember everything. If she brought up the Tien case again, everything would collapse. He asked me to cooperate one last time. To take her abroad, but I was afraid. I didn't do it anymore. Jack looked towards the distant black forest. His back cold. So where is he? If he's still alive, and he knows Tien hasn't left this place, then she's in danger. Lieutenant Lamb immediately ordered. Alert the entire area. Protect the witness. Cancel all plans to escort Mrs. Twee first. The priority now is to find Mr. Bay Sack and protect Tien. That afternoon, the wind suddenly turned strong. Dark clouds gathered, casting a gloomy shadow over the farmhouse roof. Tien was in the old barn, where she was sorting out the pile of things that Jack had once turned over to investigate. She had no idea that outside, the police had just discovered the identity of the person she could never remember in her entire life, the person who had carried her away in the night of the red fire, and turned her life into a tangled identity for more than 20 years. A strange noise rang out from behind the house. Tien turned around, thinking it was Jack, but no, the door was still closed. The shadow of the tree outside the window swayed as if someone was standing there, watching. Jack, is that you? She called. No one answered. There was only the sound of heavy footsteps on the gravel. She stepped outside. There was no one. There was only the wind and the sound of dry leaves being torn in the air. Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you. The voice came from behind her, deep. Slow, like the voice of someone who had lived a lifetime of scheming. Tien turned around in surprise. A man stood there, wearing a silver-gray coat and a soft hat pulled low. His face was full of wrinkles, but his eyes were strangely bright. And what made Tien shiver even more was the red dragon tattoo wrapped around his right wrist. Visible under his sleeve, exactly like in the old photo. Who am I? He smiled. You still don't remember? I was the one who held you, put you in Mrs. Thai's arms. I was the one who gave you a new life. And now, I want you to come with me, one last time. Tien stepped back, her whole body trembling. The air seemed to freeze around her. I don't know who you are, but I'm not going anywhere, she said, her voice cracking. His face suddenly darkened, no longer benevolent, only the cold breath of a person who once ruled the darkness. He pulled out a small bottle from his pocket. If you don't go, then I will have to make you forget everything. Like that year. At that moment, the sound of a police siren sounded from afar. Headlights swept across the sky. Mr. Bay Sack squinted, looked towards the light, then turned to Tien, and whispered, "This time, if I lose you again, someone else will die." He turned and ran into the forest, disappearing as if he had never existed. Tien collapsed, her hands still shaking as she held the strange medicine bottle he had dropped. She knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning of the terrible truth waiting to be revealed.
Quanh năm và gian bếp chưa bao giờ thiếu khói lửa. Một thứ nhỏ bắt đầu một chiếc ôi chỉ mùi tanh nhẹ nhẹ len lỏi trong từng khe cửa, trộn lẫn vào hương cá kho đang sôi trên bếp. Bà Ngọ, người đàn bà quá buộc sống cùng con trai và con dâu mới cưới, vẫn thường tay đạp cá, tay đẩy nắp nồi, miệng khe khẽ nhấp.
Mưa rồi. Cánh đồng mờ sương vào trước nhà. Tại một vùng quê thanh bình, Từ Tiên và Sắc cùng nhau điều hành một nông trại. Họ trồng rau, nuôi gà, sống giản dị nhưng tràn đầy hạnh phúc. Người dân xung quanh yêu quý họ vì sự tử tế và chăm chỉ. Tuy nhiên, kể từ khi bà Thủy, một người họ hàng xa với Sắc, dọn đến sống cùng với lý do giúp đỡ nông trại, mọi thứ dần thay đổi. Những cuộc gọi lén lút vào ban đêm, những cuộc trò chuyện khi Tử Tiên bước vào thì bà Thủy im lặng khiến không khí trong nhà ngày càng ngột ngạt.